What is good, guys? It's your boy Smith with All Things Living. Back again with another one. Now, normally we go around the room and I'd update you on what's going on with the breeding projects and all of that. But today we're going outside. I want to talk about 5 of America's most common snake species. Let's go. All right, now coming in at number 5, we have the king snake. Now the king snake is a medium build snake, maxing out about 4 to 5 feet, depending on the species, I guess. They're usually black with like off-white stripes that come down their body, and then around the center of their body it breaks into 2 stripes going down to the stomach. The belly side of this snake is usually the same colored off-white, and the chin of the snake or the throat of the snake is also the same colored off-white, and that depends on the color of the snake too, because they come in huge variation, from whites to black and whites to all blacks. There are so many colors when it comes to the king snake. My personal favorite is Florida's scarlet king snake. That snake is absolutely beautiful with the reds and the yellows in it. It's an amazing, marvelous animal. Now these animals, they have a really large range as far as where they live. As far north as Jersey, as far west I think is California. And then also down here in Florida. These animals are literally everywhere. Now these animals are primarily diurnal. You'll find them on the ground around like rocks and logs, decaying logs and stuff like that. They have a huge range of habitats, from forests to mountains to swamplands, grasslands. They have a huge habitat range. Now king snakes eat a lot of things, but they primarily hunt other snakes, hence why they're called the king. King snakes don't play around at all. They even hunt venomous snakes. They have some sort of immunity to mild venom, but they won't hesitate to eat small frogs, rodents, lizards, things like that. Pretty much, they can catch it, it's done. And these animals are super active hunters. They're not like ambush predators. They're gonna wait for something to come by their path. No, they're actively hunting. They're out there looking, trying to catch somebody slipping, and a lot of the times they're not too picky about what they eat. Like I said, if they can catch it, they're done. Now, king snakes are not venomous snakes. They're typically not even aggressive at all. They're very curious when exploring, and that's it. Usually if they bite, it's a feeding response. And one of these days I will be bringing in the scarlet king snake, Florida's own. I would love to work with that animal, do some captive breeding efforts to help preserve this animal in our habitat. Yeah, there will be scarlet king snakes here one day. Alright guys, coming in at number 4, we have the water moccasin, or the cottonmouth, whatever. This is a semi-aquatic pit viper, maxing out about 3.5 feet, sometimes a little bit bigger, 4.5. I have seen in the wild, I've seen some really big moccasins that literally scare me. Now when you're in the presence of a moccasin, you usually know it. When these animals get scared, threatened, spooked, anything, they usually just open their mouths and show their fangs, showing that bright white cottonmouth. That's what I call cottonmouth. But when you're around these snakes, you know it. You definitely know what you're dealing with. I really don't think any other snake will tilt to just kick their head back and open their mouths and show them. I don't think any other snake does that. Now these are the only venomous water snakes in America, and the only aquatic pit vipers in the world. A very unique snake that we get to study here. And the females gestate the eggs inside. They don't lay eggs out and about. They gestate their eggs inside and give birth to live young. Now, my old fishing spot in Jacksonville, the trees are filled with them. We thought it was just one tree, but we quickly found out that all the trees are filled with moccasins. And if these animals get spooked or anything, they start raining from the trees. Just imagine walking through the forest and it's raining moccasins. Now, I've personally observed these animals in many different, not only locations, but environments. They tolerate different types of water conditions. Like, I'll find them in like lake areas and stream sides, but I've also found these animals basking at the beach, literally basking at the beach. I don't know what they're doing there, how they got there, how they even tolerate salt water, none of that, but I've found them from the forest to the beach, basking comfortably. They do not mind. Now, water moccasins eat practically everything from lizards to frogs to small rodents to birds. I think even fish too. Yeah, they eat fish too. Anything that they can catch, they're gonna eat it. And the babies are usually born with a lighter tail, like off yellows. It's usually a bright color, and they use it as a lure. They flick it back and forth, and they bring in birds and small frogs and lizards, things like that. All right, now these animals are not aggressive, but they are super curious. Now, their curiosity seems to leave when they are on land. They're usually more ready to leave, ready to go. But when they're in the water, they have no problem swimming right up to you and seeing what you got going on, what you're even doing there. There's been many times where we had to cancel, like I said, cancel fishing trips because it starts raining moccasins, and they're very curious. So you've got 10, 15, 20 moccasins coming to see what you're doing. It just makes things incredibly difficult. You don't want to get bit. We just wrap up the whole fishing trip. Let's go. And do be careful when out there. Like I said, their venom is not the strongest in the world, but it does contain like proteins that will destroy your tissue. Their venom is strong enough to destroy your tissue. I think there's only been one recorded death or something like that ever. So it isn't particularly bad, but just watch out. Oh, and if that wasn't just the craziest, the females can also reproduce parthenogenically, meaning they don't even need a male. If they decide it's that time, then it's okay. We're having babies alone. Coming in at number 3, we got the Copperhead. Now, the Copperhead is another venomous pit viper, maxing out at about 3 feet, 3.5 feet, depending on the particular specimen. And these animals are venomous, but their venom is classified as particularly weak. But you still gotta respect anything with venom. It doesn't matter what it is. If it has venom, it can hurt you, so you respect these animals regardless. Now, people misidentify this animal all the time. They get it confused because like when they're young, they look like other snakes, like water snakes and things like that. And people will get them confused thinking it's a harmless animal, and that could lead to a whole world of problems. So just make sure you're identifying these animals properly. Just make sure you're handling any snake as if it were a loaded weapon. Now, these animals feed on a wide variety of prey, from birds to lizards to frogs, rodents. Much like the moccasin, and their babies are born with the same extremity, or not extremity, but with the same discoloration on their tails, usually like a neon green. And the babies use it the exact same way as the water moccasin, the other pit viper. They shape their tail back and forth to lure in small rodents, frogs, lizards, birds even. You might see it, think it's a worm. And as soon as they come into striking distance, they got them. Now, female copperheads will usually come together in large groups. Like the females come together in large groups to gestate their eggs. All of them lay babies together, but they usually come together in these large groups to do that. And you can find these animals as far north as Massachusetts, as far west as Nebraska, and you already know, here in Florida. Everything's here in Florida. Everything is here in Florida. Everything. And you can find them in heavily forested areas like hillsides, wetlands, mountainous areas, depending on the region that they're in. You would typically find these animals on the forest floor around like decaying logs. Like if you go out like log flipping, that's something we love to do, or rocks, around rocks and logs. And they're not so curious like the water moccasin. The water moccasin will in a lot of cases will come to you. Copperhead's not so much. You could even tell by looking just at their cryptic pattern. They want to blend in, they want to disappear. That's part of the allure of the animal. They don't want to be seen. In fact, anytime we spot a anytime you see a copperhead, give it some space and just thank God that you've seen it. Now, these animals usually have like a reddish brown body with darker reddish brown bands and an unmarked, there's usually no marks on their head, and it's just copper tone. So no stripes, no bands, no blotches. It's usually just an unmarked Copperhead. Maybe one day I'll work with them too, because I really do love how cryptic their pattern is. These animals are absolutely, they're beautiful. They're amazing. Coming in at number 2, we've got rat snakes. Now, before I even came up with this idea to do this video, I really didn't know too much about rat snakes, but after doing a little bit of research, I've learned that I really like this species of snake. They come in huge variety of colors. They're amazing. Now, rat snakes are a little bit larger, maxing out about 6 to 8 feet. I guess it depends on the type of rat snake, but they could max out about 6 to 8 feet, getting relatively big. Now let's talk about the colors real quick, because these dudes come in all types of colors, from having blotches to stripes, or blotches and they have so many colors: black and white, yellows, reds, grays, browns, greens. I think it was a red-tailed green rat snake, I think. It absolutely beautiful. And you can usually find them in like the forests and the marshes, the swamps, wetlands. Yeah, they have a wide range of habitats that they actually live in. As far as states, I'm not exactly sure. Hold on. As far north as New England, as far west as Michigan. And they're not aggressive, they're not venomous, so they're practically harmless. Really the only problem you would have is the size. You know, some of them can get to be a little bit big. They're not big. 5, 6, 7 feet, 8 feet even is not big. Not big at all. Especially not to us. We live in Florida. Now, I've heard these animals are super good at climbing. You know, climb like straight up brick walls and fences. You'll find them on your roof, on the top of like parking garages, rooftops, telephone poles, just in the weirdest places. These animals are really good at climbing. And you like I said, you'll always find them up high in just weird places. These animals are also diurnal and typically hunt during the daytime. They eat rats, mice, squirrels, chipmunks, small rodents. Now the babies sometimes will eat like small lizards and like small frogs, stuff like that, but usually as they get older, they normally prefer like warm-blooded prey. And if I can, I'm definitely gonna be working with the red-tailed green rat snake. I would love to get a breeding project going. I think that would be amazing. Now before we move on with this list, if you like top 5s, if you like reptiles, if you like the format of the video, this is something new. Usually it's just vlog style with the animals. I had a lot of fun doing research and looking into these different animals, but if you liked it, why don't you go down and like and subscribe, leave a little comment saying I subscribe to me, and you will have a conversation. And coming in at number 1, garter snakes. Now garter snakes were hands down the most common snake I have seen in Florida since 1992. You see these animals everywhere. You find garter snakes when you're not looking for anything. These dudes are literally everywhere. They're fairly small. They max out about, I think, 2 feet. They max out about 2 feet. Fairly small, slim-bodied snake. Now, common garter snakes are usually like a dark brown or like a blackish color with a stripe that runs down their entire spine from the base of their skull all the way down to their tail. And then about the rib area, halfway down on their body, they usually have 2 more stripes that run laterally all the way to the back. But we did say common garter snake because this is another one with a whole host of species. I think there's like 30 species, and they come in a lot of colors, from like deep dark reds to bright blues. These animals are beautiful. And these animals can also be found almost anywhere, from grasslands to swamps, marshes, things like that. I typically would find them near water, like stream edges, lake edges, usually in bushes and stuff, hanging out next to the water. I really think they're just hanging out next to where their prey items are, literally. Now these animals aren't typically great climbers, not like the rat snake. These animals can't climb like the rat snake. You're not gonna find them up in the trees and everywhere. So they spend a lot of their time literally just on the ground. That's where you'll find them a lot of the time, like I said, next to streams and marshes, in the wetland areas, where their prey is abundant. And usually in the wild, these animals live in close proximity to other garter snakes. You find one, it's almost a guarantee that in the 20-yard radius there's another one. They stay close, not sure why, but you could always find them in close proximity to each other. Now, up north, where it gets cold, these animals will come together in groups of hundreds, 200, 300, 400, and hibernate through the winter. Males and females. They come together in these big groups and hibernate through the winter. And as soon as the spring hits, they're all there already, and they just mate there as soon as it warms up. And then they go on about their business. Now, I would love to bring in some red-sided garter snakes. Even some of the other garter snakes with some colors, give them a nice bioactive, naturalistic enclosure with the water feature. You know I love my water features, so I think that's something we're gonna be looking into in the future, is getting a small colony of garter snakes, maybe 2 to 4, and starting something great over here at All Things Living. But anyways, that was the list. Let me know what you thought. I'm your boy Smith. This is All Things Living. We out.